Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm taking another look at Shadowgun Legends. I haven't played this game in years, since when I started this YouTube channel, and back then I recall the game being one of the best and one of my favorite shooters that were out at the time. Keep in mind, PUBG Mobile was not around back then, Call of Duty Mobile was not around back then, and Apex Legends Mobile has come and gone, which was a game that I really did like. So the question is Shadowgun Legends still as good as I thought that it was back in the day? We're gonna take a look at it today as I dove back into the game and got some new impressions with a fresh mind and a lot of other games to compare it to. I want to take a moment and thank Warcraft Rumble for sponsoring today's video, and being that I'm having so much fun inside of the game, I recommend you try playing it with my download link in the description of this video. Inside of the game, because of the latest update, we've gotten a brand new leader inside of the game. His name is Onu, and he is completely game-changing and has become one of my favorite leaders to play. Inside of the deck that I've created for him, I've also added Ancient of War, which is also one of the latest minis that recently dropped inside of the game. He's a cool tank that costs a different amount based on the amount of gold that you have in your pocket, which is a really cool tactic. Inside of the deck, I also added one of the newer minis into the game, which is the Fairy Dragon, and of course some of my long-term favorites, the Dark Spear Troll, the Bandits, the Lightning, and of course one of my favorites inside of the game, the Dark Miner. This combination is low cost and seems to be dominating, being able to build up massive pushes that can take down both ground and air in all of my attacks. Now the entire goal is to go through the entire campaign and to beat Anyxa. I haven't beaten her yet, but we're gonna beat her soon because we're making some great progress, especially with the new leaders and the new minis inside of the game. I urge you guys to play alongside of me utilizing my link in the description of this video, and come on over and check out my YouTube channel where I cover this game multiple times per week. It's called Echo Warcraft Rumble. That makes sense. I'll be linking that down below as well. Maybe you guys can jump in and get through the final boss before me. That's the challenge. And thanks again to Warcraft Rumble for sponsoring today's video. So first things first, upon logging back into the game, as expected, it did have my account saved, which had all my progress, and there were a lot of pop-ups going around. I mean, we've had years of things happening inside of the game that I've just missed out on. Rewards that we'd collected, contracts that we've collected, and new features inside of the game that I've missed out on since the game has expanded over the years. Again, this game is approximately 8 years old and still an active shooter in the Play Store and in the market. So once clearing through all of those pop-ups, everything was kind of back to normal. I wanted to take a look at my gear and see if what I had equipped was actually still decent. And as it seems, it was the best stuff that I had at the time, at least what I had in my bag, but I had to take on a few missions to see what those would actually look like, how it would feel, and I wanted to see what kind of gear I could get that could potentially replace what I was already wearing. Keep in mind, I was wearing a very fast shooting SMG, which I remember loving in the past, and a sniper rifle that was also quite nice. But it takes some skill and some practice to get good at the thing, as you'll probably see at some point inside of this video. Now, as you could tell from the scenery inside of the game, there is a big marketplace around the central HUD. Tons of different vendors you can go see, tons of events you could take part in, and even a casino that you could gamble inside of if you want to do that instead of play a shooter style game. I always really did like this about Shadowgun Legends, and I really thought that they could have expanded more on it through advertisements up in the billboards to different events that you could play in that would interact with other games or other communities as well. It seems that they haven't taken those opportunities to expand out beyond the community they already have inside of Shadowgun Legends. And that's a developer decision. Maybe that was something they never intended to do, but I saw a big opportunity for them to take advantage of that to try and expand their game out even further, and it seemed that never had taken place. So I decided to go in on a mission to check out what they look like, and more likely, what they felt like. Now, as I quickly was reminded, the game very much was an arena-style, Duke Nukem-style Halo game. If you combine all those together and mosh them all together, that's what we're looking at in Shadowgun Legends. You get the Duke Nukem attitude, you get the cursing inside of the gameplay as well, which I actually think is really cool. You don't see that in gaming very much. It gives kind of a badass feel, and it definitely is here in Shadowgun Legends. That's something we don't see in any other mobile shooters right now, so if you're looking for something with a little bit of edge, it definitely has it right here. But it does, like I mentioned, have that Halo feel. keep in mind, there's no jump mechanic inside of this game, and I feel like that's something that always was and still is lacking from the game. You cannot jump. It makes you feel overly grounded, especially after playing other games like Call of Duty Mobile that you do have a jump mechanic. Whether you use it a lot or not, the ability is there and it adds a lot more movement that you can do throughout the game. Now, also, the missions that you go on inside of Shadowgun Legends, they're very linear. You have to go from point A to point B, and sometimes they'll go in different directions, but they all end up going in the same spot. Whereas modern shooters are more battle royale style, big wide open map. This is what shooters have come to be these days. Does that mean that Shadowgun Legends way is not good though? No, I don't think that's the case. I think that this is definitely more of a casual style PvE experience versus a PvP central style game that we know from a PUBG Mobile or from a Call of Duty Mobile, who I'm obviously going to continuously reference throughout this video because they're probably the two most popular shooters right now, and Shadowgun Legends is probably not one of the more popular games. So let's talk about the gunplay. It has auto fire, and it has a double tap to aim, which we've seen in other games as well, and there very well could be options to change these settings, but those are the default with the game. If I were playing a competitive shooter, I would definitely not want an auto fire mechanic. I'd want to have all of that control myself. But here, it's taking that control into its own hands, leaning it being towards a more casual experience, which again, I am okay with. You can swap between your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, and then a third weapon, which is typically a pistol. Surprisingly, the pistols are quite good inside of this game, and they actually pack quite a punch. Your primary weapon is essentially going to be an assault rifle or an SMG, and your secondary will be either a sniper rifle or a rocket launcher, all which are very damaging, but also very limited in ammunition that you can have, and oftentimes a lot more difficult to use, really just good for specific situations. Now you also have a talent tree. Here you have tons of different ways that you can customize how you play the game. Whether you want to be on the offense, the defense, support, you can build out your tree in the way that you like and select the 2 skills that you want to be active on your build. This is very nice because it allows you to strengthen your style gameplay. Honestly, this is something I don't remember from the past. I just don't recall it being there. Could it have been? Maybe. Could they have reset my skill tree because they changed it or added new things to it? Possibly. But I'll be honest, I don't remember the thing, and I actually quite like it the way it is inside of the game right now. The enemies feel really good too. They're not too difficult, but they're not too hard, and depending on the stage you go into, of course, you're gonna have more or less of them coming at you at one time. As you progress further and further, of course, things will get more and more difficult. And don't forget that there is a PvP element inside of this game, which I did not dive into inside of this video because for PvP, I would prefer to play those other titles that I continuously mention inside of this video. Plus, that's not a mechanic I ever played back in the day, so I didn't want to change my view of what I knew to what I know based on an experience that I never did back in the past. The sounds inside of the game are great. It gives you that really in-space alien feel, and even better, when you get back to the arena, when you're back in your home HUD, everything sounds really cool. They make you feel like a legend when you get back and complete your missions. It's really something that's positive for the player base to feel when they complete something. It's a very good, wholesome, positive feeling experience. So I think that's a big plus with this game. And I guess we have to talk about the graphics because it's been 8 years since the game has come out, and the graphics do show that. The game does not have the polish that we see in more modern and more recent games, and that's to be expected. With that being said, the game isn't so outdated with graphics that it's not playable. I could deal with the lower quality or the lower bar of graphic quality that's offered here in Shadowgun Legends over something that had really great graphics that the gameplay was subpar. I think that the gameplay here stands out enough inside of Shadowgun Legends that allows us to give a little bit of a break to the graphics that are lacking. Keep in mind, the game is not new, it's 8 years old, so it's not a knock on the developers. They built it 8 years ago. I'm looking forward to what they build next, because Madfinger Games has always put out games that I loved and that were actually quite popular within the community. So to sum this all up, do I believe that Shadowgun Legends is still a playable shooter inside of today's market, the way that the App Store lies now, and with all of the game options that we have today? And my answer is yes. I don't love the game as much as I used to. It definitely does have some age creep on it, meaning it's definitely showing its age in different areas, but the gunplay is still good, the graphics are decent, the sounds are good, and the gameplay is just fun. And that's the core thing right there. If the gameplay is fun, it's worth your download, especially since this is a free-to-play experience. And it's very different than any other shooters out there. So, if there are any other games that you would like me to take a look at, let me know in the comments below and maybe I'll feature them in an upcoming video.